Thank you much, Nora. Thank you. I really rejoice in our friendship and really appreciate having been Mitra Convenor with you. And it's wonderful to see you all here today, and also to be in the presence of this beautiful shrine and what it represents. What a presence! And so wonderful to have Parinirvana here with us, and how many times we've benefited from Parinirvana coming, giving us some wonderful talks and teachings, and feel very fortunate. So when I was thinking about, I guess I was thinking about what's inspired me through the years, being a Mitra Convenor. And somehow I just went back to the Buddha's enlightenment. And, the fact that he stayed a couple of weeks after he gained enlightenment in the whole vicinity of Bodh Gaya. And one particularly vivid, beautiful episode is that he stood rooted to the spot, just gazing up in gratitude and wonder at the tree that had sheltered him. And the story goes he stood there for 7 days and 7 nights, and I really love that detail. But I think in a certain way it's kind of beyond conventional time. I think that kind of quality of gratitude and wonder is quite timeless, and I can feel it now, actually. And I was thinking, well, I've been rooted in the vicinity of South London ever since I came across the Dharma. I'd been looking for a serious spiritual path quite consciously for about 12 years. And probably for most of my lifetime. I'd been meditating on my own for quite some time. And when I came across Triratna and Sangharakshita's teaching and that path to the Buddha, it took me quite some time to realize, gosh, sorry, I found what I've been looking for. Sorry. And I think I've been rooted to the spot ever since, just gazing up in gratitude and wonder, actually. And so it's been a very long time. That was the mid-90s where I came across the Dharma here in South London. But in a certain way, there's part of me that's just standing there in a timeless way, that sense of gratitude. And it felt like I found a beautiful garden in a wilderness. And it was surrounded by some stately, beautiful trees. And one of the most beautiful trees to me was Kalyana Mitrata. So the teaching of Kalyana Mitrata, which literally means friendship, well, not literally, but can be translated as friendship with the beautiful, the good, the noble. And in other words, friendship on the basis of spiritual values, which I just think was such a rare and beautiful thing. And I'm still gazing at that. And we not only had that practice, that teaching of Kalyana Mitrata, but we also had Bhante Sangharakshita's genius of providing contexts and institutions in which to practice Kalyana Mitrata. And one of those was being a Mitra Convenor and becoming a Mitra. So, this Mitra literally means friend, as many of you know. And convenor can be defined as gathering together spiritual friends. And I suppose the Mitra Convenor's particular role is to, befriend people, and I guess in my case women, and just supporting and encouraging deepening a practice and through commitment. And one of those commitments is becoming a Mitra. And again, this is just this wondrous genius of Sangharakshita, that there is these contexts for deepening practice in the midst of everyday life, where there isn't a viable monastic context, but we have this. And when I came along, for me, the order members and the Mitra Convenors were kind of fourth sight for me. They had a huge effect. I first started in Clapham. It was a men's community. And I just thought order members were men. And then I started meeting these women from rival centre. And they were like a fourth sight. So for the Buddha, the fourth sight was a wandering ascetic. And he pointed to this radical, different way of living one's life. And for me, that's what women, order members and Mitra Convenors did. And I think for me, when they inspired me to train for ordination. And I think within that, I had an aspiration to give back what I'd been given in that way, through becoming a Mitra Convenor. And I got ordained in 2004, as Maitranara said, but in those times I had to go back to the States to become a carer to my parents. But when I started coming back around 2008, Ratnachuda told me about, getting involved in what was then quite a skeleton Sangha, Brixton. It had seen more abundant days, but it was now quite small. But he told me about these wonderful women. And so he kept saying, come on and teach. And I don't know, I think I just it was too small a situation to have a Mitra Convenor or, make that conscious. But I know I internalized it. So it's what I was meeting these women and meeting women who wanted to go deeper. And I remember Gita recently telling me how strange it seemed that this woman whom she hardly knew was just inviting her out for cups of tea and wanting to know about her. But it gradually built up. I mean, and I think what I aspire to is create contexts for women to be friends, deepen friendships with each other, but also seeking to get other women order members involved. So there was also the there's this what's known as horizontal, with people who were more or less at the same stage of the path, but also people who have had longer experience and commitment. And that seems to be bearing fruit. We got Saraka involved, and now we have Maitrinita and Vandanashuri. And, that has seemed really, really important. And we also have Vajratara giving her wonderful input. So, things have developed and grown, and, it's just been very wonderful. And I became Mitra Convenor in Croydon in 2011. And so it just seemed to spill over into Brixton. It just seemed to keep happening, and which was wonderful. And one thing that inspired me in that, in the practice, and being in two sanghas, and was also a trustee in Croydon, or the centre team in Croydon, was my practice of Amitabha, the Red Buddha Amitabha, who represents unlimited love and compassion. And it's the visualization I took when I got ordained. And Amitabha symbolizes or represents many qualities, but one of them is discriminating wisdom. And so it's kind of cherishing and seeing the unique qualities in every single being. And that's been a delight of being a Mitra Convenor. It's just delighting in the different conditions people have, the different qualities they've had, the different circumstances people have, and how they meet them. And it's just been very broadening and inspiring. And I have felt like I've had room in my heart for everybody. That it's never felt like I didn't have space for someone. But I'll just say something about this ritual object. When I became the Mitra, officially the Women's Mitra Convenor with Maitrinara, we both adopted a ritual object that we put on the shrine. And I chose this beautiful multicolored mala, which to me it kind of represents the diverse qualities of people coming together to practice. Now, discriminating wisdom is you see the differences, but you also see that it's all interconnected. So Amala is all interconnected. So I just think it's a very beautiful symbol. And then when I stepped down last December from being a Mitra Convenor, I placed it in this Amitabha red bag that was given to me when I was ordained. And they gave it to Pranu Ghoshal, who gave it to me through my Trinara, gave it back to me this week, so I can pass it on to Shraddhamalini. So, unlike Amitabha, I'm not limitless, and my conditions have changed, and being a carer does take a lot of energy. But I'm still here in the background foliage. I'm still very interested in the women I know and getting to know some of the newer women when I can. And I'm also a private preceptor, so I'm particularly connected with this aspect of women being ordained. So I'm very much here from that perspective. And when I can, I'm still here, but more in camouflage. and I'm just delighted that it's only taken a year, and we have Shraddhamalini, who is stepping up to become the Women's Mitra Convenor in Brixton, and it just feels really significant after, there were years when I was the only woman order member, then we had Sarika, and it's just grown and grown, and we have so many women mitras now, women in training for ordination, but also wonderful new women coming along. And I'm just so glad that we have someone now in place that can, just meet all of that in a very conscious way. And it's been a delight getting to know you. So, congratulations.
Thank you. It's just really, really wonderful to be here. It's a particularly poignant Parinirvana Day for me, obviously because of this ritual, this sort of marking, of very much a new phase and of joining you guys. But it's also poignant for me because, as most of you probably already know, my dad died, and we had his funeral a couple of weeks ago. So there's a picture of him on the shrine with me on my wedding day. So that's particularly poignant as well. And it is really, it's the first Parinirvana Day festival I've been to where I've actually had someone to put on the shrine. And it does feel very different. There's a sense of some of the things that Parinirvana was talking about in terms of what a beautiful opportunity it is to be able to remember people and how important that is. And how many of us have people, that we want to remember as well. And just one thing about my dad, I'm finding that I can talk about my dad a lot, which isn't particularly something I've ever done in my life before, really. So a very, very important experience for me spiritually came about through my dad. So he was a Catholic, and for some reason, I don't know how, when I was about 14 or 15, and I was pretty kind of wayward, not in an exciting way, in quite a boring way. I just didn't really care about anything. Somehow my dad persuaded me that I should get confirmed as a Catholic, and I don't know how he did that, so I decided I would, and I went on the training course. Didn't believe anything that I was hearing, but I stayed on it. And then I had this ceremony. It was quite a big church in Canterbury, full of people. Suddenly there was this huge church full of people, and there was this bishop who came in specially to do the, I keep thinking of confirmation. And he was just like this wonderful little man in red robes, and he was just emanating love. And during the ceremony, I just had this sort of religious experience, really, of just overwhelmingly loving and being loved. Like everyone was there to wish each other well in their life, to get the best they could out of their life. But I knew it didn't mean that I believed in God somehow, but I did know that I believed in that. And I think I was a bit like Amarapuspa was saying, I was then looking for that. I've been looking for that. I had been looking for that ever since. And that was, it had a lot to do with my dad. So when we do embark on the spiritual path, for want of a better word, when we do embark on this journey together, we really need friends. And I was with my dad when he died. Me and my stepmom were there with him when he died. And you could feel how important it was, even though he wasn't really communicative, for him to have people around him who loved him and knew him. And that was very much the case when the Buddha died. And his very, very best friend, Ananda, was with him, many other people as well. But I can imagine how important it would have been for both of them, for Ananda to be there. There's this famous conversation between the Buddha and Ananda, not on the day that he died, but previous to that, where Ananda is talking about how important friendship is in the spiritual life, and says he thinks it's probably about half of the spiritual life. And the Buddha's like, no, it's the whole thing. It's all about friendship. It's all about friendship, and it's really, really in that spirit that I'm able to come to Brixton. I want to come to Brixton, and it's very much in that spirit what I want to do with you guys at Brixton. And it's a two-way thing. Like, I need friends too. It's not a kind of service. It is service in another way, but it's not a job, I suppose, is partly what I'm trying to say. It's definitely not a job. So one of the things about practicing Kalyana Mitrata, or spiritual friendship, or just friendship, as Amarapuspa was talking about, is that in order to deepen friendships and to help each other in life and also with our spiritual life, we need those friendships to deepen. And find a way to do that with each other, to find out more about each other, to cultivate interest in each other, to get to know each other. And as we do that for each other, then we get to know ourselves better as well, and our practice deepens. And how we do that is very simply by meeting up with each other. And it's almost like a jargon word, I think, in this Buddhist community, meeting up. Like, it really means something. And so I just wanted to encourage you to meet up with me, the women, so I'm looking at the women, and the men. I'm happy to meet up with you as well, but you can meet up with my Chinara. To spend time together, So let's do that, is partly what I want to say. And one of the other reasons that we need friends as well as this deepening is that friends inspire us. Particularly friends who are further along than us on the path. Again, Amarapuspa talked about the fourth sight. You see somebody who's been practicing for longer than you, and they're doing something very, very often. This is a way in for people. And you see someone doing something or saying something, and you think, that is interesting, that is different from what I do, and I want to be more like that. And certainly that was the case for me. Some of you would have heard the story, but I met an order member at my children's nursery. Just the way that she let her child sort of like basically muck around in the mud before school was really, really inspiring. Because most parents don't want their kids to do that. I mean, I don't know why, but they don't want them to get dirty. Anyway, so she was she was a great inspiration to me. Because of her, I went to learn to meditate. I've got a frog in my throat, sorry.
And I don't think anyone has said.
Oh, thanks. I might wait a moment. Yeah, so because of meeting her, because of understanding that why she was different, what I saw in her was the fruits of practice. So that was then, despite having lived around the corner from the LBC for 15 years prior to that, I'd never been in. It never occurred to me that thing that I was looking for that bishop had sort of brought into being, that it might be there. So so she got me through the door. So I asked to become a Mitra, sort of on the back of that, and that was I guess in a way this whole spiritual path in a way is through friendship a series of inspirations that open up a glimpse of a vision. So we can sort of talk about a vision and engage with beauty, but we really need glimpses of what that might actually feel like and be like as well. And some of you are nodding, and I'm suspecting that that's because you've had something like that. What happened to me was I went to learn to meditate, and Mitra Bandhu, who some of you have met, stood up and he described what the Buddha Rupa was. He said this, I wish I could do it as well as him, but this is a fully realised human potential, and we have this here as a reminder and as a way to engage with how we could also reach our fullest potential. And somewhere inside of me, a little secret Buddhist woke up, and so I was a secret Buddhist for a little while. That took a little while to allow that to sort of come out into the world, but very, very important, inspiring moment. And I did eventually, as it were, come out as a Buddhist and became a Mitra. I was absolutely terrified going with my family to my Mitra ceremony. Some of you may have had those ceremonies. I just thought, well, what if they don't like it? I mean, really, that's what it came down to. What if they don't like it? And that's the risk that we take, I guess. But it's definitely been worth it. And a similar flash of inspiration when I asked for ordination. And I think we may not know it, but those flashes of inspiration, however we act from them, have a very, very deep effect on our lives. Very often without us. Very often perhaps we do know it, but sometimes we don't. They actually mean that we've changed course and we've actually set our sights, perhaps towards something quite different. And again, it was Mitra Bandhu, and again, it was at the LBC, because that is where I sort of grew up spiritually, as Mitra said. Was talking about Vajrasana, which was then a new retreat centre. And I'm an architect by training, so there was something particularly engaging for me in him talking about this building that had just been finished, which was the first purpose-built Buddhist building in this country ever. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, pretty remarkable. And he was talking about not just being a little bit Buddhist in our lives, but really allowing ourselves to just go for it and just be like complete, wholly Buddhists, if you like, and sort of building Buddhist buildings was part of that. And for me, that was a real flash of inspiration of something, an integration, another part of me sort of coming on board and understanding something. And I just went up afterwards and asked him for ordination. You don't get ordained in that moment, but but actually, in a way, that's what it feels like. So I didn't really understand what that meant. And I'm not entirely sure that I understand still what that means exactly, but it was definitely something that I wanted. I definitely did want to change the course of my life and steer towards something meaningful and beautiful. Slightly lost track of how long I'm meant to be talking for. So a change of course. And along the way, I worked at the Buddhist Centre, as well as been mentioned. And that really, really gave a chance for friendship to deepen. If you do things with people, generally that's good. But if you work with people, Mandy, you get to know them well. Maitranara, as we are beginning to do, and it's brilliant. You do not always get things right, and you have to sort of like meet that in each other, and it's very, very, very growthful, and it's just good for us, I think. So I got to know some people really well. And one of those people was somebody who helped with, who was on the team for a lot of the family stuff at the LBC. So that's the other thing, is I have 3 young people who are not children anymore, officially. Officially on Friday, the youngest one will be 18, so they're not children anymore. But I brought up a family, and having a Buddhist context, for the sort of practice of family life. Talk about practicing in the midst of change. I mean, really, that's what that is. That is practicing in the midst of change and challenge as well. And I met someone called Jyotismati, and Jyotismati had just been asked by somebody if she would ordain them, if she would be their preceptor, and she'd been ordained a very, very long time, but she wasn't actually a preceptor yet. So in order to become one, Amarapuspa will have done this, in order to be able to ordain people, it's almost like getting ordained all over again. You have to go through quite a process with your friends, where you really examine, what does it mean to ordain somebody, and how can I do that? Anyway, she was going through that process with somebody, and was talking to me about it quite a lot. We'd started meeting up, and as she was talking, particularly your preceptor chooses your name for you, so quite a big thing to trust somebody to do, to be the person that chooses your name. And as she was talking about this process she was going through, choosing these names, I suddenly had this very, very deep faith that she could choose mine, that I would trust her to do that. And so again, you'll notice a slight pattern of impetuousness on my part. I asked her if she would be my preceptor there and then. And she couldn't say yes straight away, but she said she would like to. And she did say, you have basically just asked me to marry you, so I do need to think about it. And we then, some years later, travelled to Spain together. So there are various ways of going on an ordination retreat, and the sort of fullest one, if you like, I don't even want to use that word, the longest one even, just simply, is a 3-month retreat in the mountains in Spain. But people get ordained on retreats of different lengths of time in different places. But I was able to go to Spain, to the mountains in Spain, with Jyotismati for 2 weeks, so that was in 2022. And we travelled there together and travel back, and that's another really good way to get to know someone, well, is to travel with them. And not only were we travelling together, we went by train all the way there and all the way back, train and bus, and 4x4. We because we were on quite a tight budget, we shared a bed together. So we had these hotel rooms, we shared a bed together. So we really did get to know each other well. It was wonderful. It was really absolutely wonderful. And on that retreat, she gave me my name. So just lastly, I wanted to say something about what it's been like then, because another one of those moments, really another one of those processes similar to what I've just been talking about, has been going on in order for me to come and join you in Brixton. And so I thought I'd just say a couple of things about that. And in a way what I want to say is it's not a small thing. And I think that's really important for you, and it's definitely important for me. It's not simply that someone said, they need a Mitra Convener in Brixton, and I said, I could probably do that. Why don't I come and just do that? It's not how it is. I didn't expect to come and probably move to Brixton, which is probably what will happen at all. I spent, as I said, I just sort of I was homegrown at the LBC. And I did want to become a Mitra Convener, and I wanted, sort of natural thing would be to be Mitra Convener at the LBC, and they needed a Mitra Convener at the LBC, so I applied for that. And I put a lot of effort into that application process, just in sort of really getting into the vision of Mitra Convening and why I would want to do it and what it would mean, and I found that very, very inspiring. And somebody else also applied for the job of Mitra Convener at the LBC, and they got it. And some people, it was very disappointing at the time. Some people said to me, something will happen soon and it will make sense of this, of why you didn't get it. And I sort of thought, right. Great. But it actually did. And what happened was, first of all, sort of rumour, but a message from Mitra saying, well, they are looking for a Mitra convener in Brixton. And I sort of thought, I'm probably not going to do that. Londoners are very, very parochial, aren't we? It's like, no, I'm in Bethnal Green, I don't go to Brixton. I've been, but but then I had a Zoom call with Mitra, and as I'm sure you've all experienced, Mitra is so good at... Mitra is so good at conveying vision. It's like very, very clear, showing of the way forward, the vision. And I went from being a sort of like probably not to where do I sign in the course of that Zoom call. And it was because of the way that Mitra can communicate vision. And that met the vision that I'd already sort of brought into being, if you like, through that application process of like, yes, I think I am a Mitra convener, and then Mitra comes in and says, we need a Mitra convener. And then those two things meet on a kind of level that's beyond Brixton or Bethnal Green or whatever. It's actually just on the level of spiritual development, if you like. And then I felt scared, and I thought maybe I won't again. It's a sort of bit of back and forth. And again, Mitra was very sensitive to that. He would just check in with me and find out how it was going. And then the thing that clinched it was coming here to Through Buddhist Eyes, when Pranagosha was playing, performing, launching the album of music he'd made on his ordination retreat. I'm sure a lot of you were there. And I'd had quite a tumultuous time since ordination. Just how life is sometimes. And I think some part of me had slightly lost touch with the quality of inspiration that I'd felt when I got ordained. But I really got in touch with that again that evening. I just really felt that came through in the music and the way that it was presented and the way that it was shared that evening. And just really had a sense of just a deep connection with what I wanted to do with my life, I suppose. I remember saying to Mitra afterwards, because I had been offered a job as a bookkeeper for somebody. I'm not a bookkeeper. I don't know why they thought I could be, but anyway, they offered me a job. That was the main thing. And I just had this strong response that night of like, I didn't get ordained to be someone's bookkeeper. It's fine to be a bookkeeper, but that's not why I got ordained, sort of thing, was the response. So it's a very, very poignant moment for those things to have come together, for Brixton to need a Mitra convener and for me to need somewhere to be a Mitra convener. So I'm very, very happy to be on board. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there. Thank you.